Okay. And welcome. My name is Katherine Kelaidis, and I am the resident scholar at the National Hellenic Museum. And we were hoping that this conversation could be broadcast to you live, but I think the social media network is straining under the pressure of our current situation. But today, I'm really excited because I'm here with my friend. I think I can call you a friend and colleague, um, Jeremy Bucher, who is our collections manager at the National Hellenic Museum. And Jeremy has been kind enough to join us and talk with us about some of the wonderful things happening with our collections database at the National Hellenic Museum, and really talking about ways that you can still interact with our collection in this period where we are all being kept physically apart. So, Jeremy, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll probably have some questions at the end.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. So today I'll be talking about our new collections management system, Collective Access, that we have at the National Hellenic Museum. Just first, when we were looking to upgrade from Past Perfect to a new system, we kind of put together a wish list of things that we wanted and were looking for in a collections management system. First of all, we were looking for something that would work for all our collections areas. So we collect images, physical objects, books, documents, archives, and most importantly, our oral history collection. And there are a lot of systems out there that specialize in each individual collecting area, but we really needed something that would be able to integrate everything. And so our previous system, Past Perfect, allowed us to catalog everything, but it did so separately in a way that wasn't super easy to search, and it didn't really connect all of our objects together into kind of one integrated system. And so Collective Access has allowed us to do that. Another important thing we were looking for, of course, being a small cultural institution, is affordability. Collective Access has a relatively small upfront cost, especially compared to some of the other collections management systems out there. And then after that one-time upfront cost, we really just have to pay our maintenance and server fees, which are also very affordable, which is really helpful for us as, again, as a small institution. We really needed something with staying power, and what I mean by that is just really something that wouldn't go obsolete or become outdated, especially right at the moment we needed it. Past Perfect for us really wasn't meeting our needs anymore, and there really wasn't too much that we could do with it. So we looked to Collective Access, which is a much more malleable system, and even without the true depth of experience working on the back end of these systems, we still are able to work within the system to make some updates when needed. One of the most important things, of course, was just providing for online access. This is something that has long been a goal of our community, just getting us online so that community members can stay in touch with the museum without necessarily having to take the trip to the museum. And that also opens up a wider audience for us. For instance, I had gentlemen reach out from New York doing research into a Greek American organization, and he regularly just Googled terms related to his organization, and one of the archival collections I had recently uploaded and made and published online to our system, he was able to find through a Google search and was able to reach out through the system and contact me, and then I was able to get him those research materials. So that really shows kind of the power and the reach of this system, which has been really, really great for us. One thing that is a major improvement over Past Perfect for us at the museum was the different levels of access. Basically, everyone had the same level of access and in Past Perfect. So the system was essentially restricted to our collections team. But with Collective Access, we are able to give different access controls to different users. Whereas I'm an administrator and have complete access to the system, we were able to create researcher logins for visitors to come into the museum and get into the back end and search through our things, as well as our coworkers are now able to access the system in a way they weren't able to before. And then, of course, there's the public access, which you, as a visitor, would see when you visit our website, and I have that link at the end of the presentation for everyone. We also use Mac and PC computers at the museum, so we needed something that would work on both. And we also needed something that would play nicely with others. And what I mean by that is something that would work with a variety of file formats. Some of our oral histories, for instance, were recorded over 20 years ago. Some were recorded as audio, some were recorded as video. And so there's just this wide variety of file formats that we have to work with. And Collective Access actually integrates all those files and has no problem working with that huge number of file formats. And then one of the really cool things that the system allows us to do is to catalog objects in both Greek and in English. Obviously, as a Greek museum, we have a lot of Greek language books, and we have a lot of artifacts that have Greek names, and so we wanted to be able to catalog both to make for a more in-depth item record, but also something that would be easier to search for a variety of people. So this is what Collective Access looks like. On the left side is the back-end login, which I see when I log into the system. And on the right side here is the front-end login, what visitors would see when they visit the website. So what Collective Access really is it's a relational database, meaning that all of the items and all the records in the system are related to one another in a variety of ways. For instance, here you can see this image of a church, Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church. That is related to the image down at the bottom, which is a photograph of two women. Normally you wouldn't see the connection between those two photographs, but it turns out they were donated by the same person. So that is one more relationship that we can tie them together, and with which we can tie them together, and it makes it a much easier search function in the system, and allows you to find a lot more objects with a simple search than you would have been able to with Past Perfect. Some of the additional perks that we have with this system are batch updates, which really is more beneficial for me than anyone else. I can take a group of objects together and I can update the information in all of them at once, as opposed to having to go through each record individually, which saves a lot of time. It's a web-based program. For instance, I've been working on the system from home for several weeks now, and I haven't had any problems with that. It was a very easy transition to be able to do that. It provides for a variety of methods for metadata exports, and by metadata we just mean the information about the objects in the system, the data about the objects. And so we were able to export those into an XML file and share those if needed, or upload them into another database if needed. And then that goes more to that playing nicely with others aspect that's very important for a system we were looking for. Again, for me, another benefit is very easy to learn and use. So that was very helpful when we had to learn a whole new system coming into this. The system is open source, meaning that anybody can go in and make these changes on the back end with the proper knowledge to be able to do so. That goes back again to how malleable the system really is. So if there are any changes we would like to make in the future, that's something we'd be able to do utilizing a lot of the support that's out there, which comes from the system, one, being widely used. For instance, the Vancouver Holocaust Education Center uses the system, as well as the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. And with that comes that ability to have that wide body of support that provides more information and a lot of troubleshooting that you might not necessarily find with other systems. And there's a lot more work that we're doing in the system, and a lot of projects that we're currently undertaking and moving forward with. One of those that is really cool, especially for our collection, is the mapping and data visualization. If we have the information for where a photograph was taken, for instance, the um, location of a building or the location of where an object was created, we can actually map that using the mapping software built into the system. So you can see that wide geographic spread of where our objects come from or were created or where an image was taken again, which is a really fun aspect of the system that we like to highlight, that we're continuing to work on as we add more and more and update the system. Another really important thing, as I mentioned earlier, oral histories are a very important part of our collection, and we've been doing these oral histories for over 20 years with the National Hellenic Museum. And one aspect of the system we're working on and continuing to update is cataloging oral history segments, meaning we can take a chunk of an oral history and we can detail what is spoken about in that segment of the interview, which makes it a lot easier to search these interviews and find what you're looking for, which is a big perk for researchers, which has been a very good thing for us in our community. And finally, one of the most important things we have in here, and something that our community can help with, is the crowdsourced tagging. You can see on the bottom left, each object has a link to leave a comment or a tag. And those all get sent straight to my email. And this is a great way for community members and visitors to the website and to the museum to stay involved with our collection. A lot of knowledge about these collections is held within the community, and that knowledge is truly invaluable. And so if anyone is searching through our system and notices a photograph and has some additional information, an additional name, sometimes even a correction, because of course we're not perfect, they can leave that bit of information for us and it'll get sent to me, and that can help us update our catalog and leave more detailed records for people to search through. And so I've left here the links to both our collection and then some other examples of collective access collections management systems you can see. And you're welcome to visit ours, and we hope you do. And if you notice something on a photograph or have a little more information, please do feel free to leave a comment and give us a helping hand in making this a great collection for everyone to share. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Jeremy, thank you so very much. So first, I think collective access is brilliant, and the work that you and that Margaret Fraser, our former collections manager, did in sort of bringing the National Hellenic Museum into collective access is so important. Could you tell people in our audience some sort of ways in which, I know we're all sort of stuck at home right now, many of us are stuck at home, except people doing very brave work in essential services. But let's say I was sort of an amateur genealogist. I had Greek family from Chicago, and I wanted to see what the National Hellenic Museum might have, for example, about my family. What are some of the ways I could use this portal to do that?
Well, the first thing that you would probably do is search for any, take the list of any last names, surnames that you have available to you, and just do a simple search in our system for that, in our search bar. Additionally, any information you have about possibly a church or a business, anything like that, you can do a search in our system for that as well, and that will show up anything that we would have. And again, because it's a relational database, anything that would be, even if you are only able to find one thing in our system, there would be multiple things that will be attached or related to that object that could continue to lead you in the right direction or send you down the right path.
Excellent. I think one of the things I was thinking about as we were talking about having you on is the ways in which digitization of collections like the National Hellenic Museum's collections, that's sort of small to mid-sized collections, can really bring people into the work of cultural heritage and into the work of cultural heritage preservation. And I know that your master's degree is in public history. And I was wondering if you could sort of comment on that, the ways in which digitization is transforming not only just the work we do at the National Hellenic Museum, but sort of public history more broadly and cultural heritage institutions. I know you probably weren't expecting that question, but if I could get you to think in that kind of 10,000 feet look real fast.
No, that's a great question, and actually, I think that's one of those things. Going back to our community crowdsourced tagging and commenting that's available in our system, a lot of these objects that we have, especially in our system, have been in our collection and in our archives, safe from the light of day for years and years and years. And now those are all becoming available now that we have them up online. We had done a lot of the digitization work prior to getting collective access, which made it a fairly easy transition into the system. But essentially, digitization and making that available online, it's really democratizing the information held in museums and breaking down those walls and those barriers, because I hold the key to our collection in the basement, and getting in there, not everybody's able to see what we all have, especially prior with our previous collections management system. But now with collective access, anyone is able to go in and see everything that we have in our collection. And more importantly, again, like I said, we're not perfect. So the ability to have people come in, take a look at a photo and say, that's not the correct date you have listed, or you don't have the name of this church, which is this. I think that really opens up a lot more opportunities to bring, again, that community knowledge, which is so important, but not always very easy to communicate. We're creating another avenue for that. And I think that's a very important thing for keeping a community involved, especially in a small cultural heritage institution. And having that ability really kind of ties us all together, and again breaks down those barriers between the professional museum community and the community that without that community support we wouldn't be able to be museum professionals. We'd be very reliant on the support of our community.
No, I love that image of the key, right? Because there is the sort of literal key that you have, and this digital work is sort of a way to turn that key over. And I think there's a real connection here between sort of the last person we had on Facebook Live, when Live was working, as it were, was Professor Anna Foka, who's a dear friend of mine, but who also works in this digital space that really is about democratizing this knowledge, right? And making access to it available to people, right? Anyone with an internet connection can get into our collections now. They don't have to come take your key, as it were. And one of the things I think I'm taking away, and I'd love to hear your comments on this, one of the things I'm taking away, I think, from this whole experience of social distancing is the power of technology to overcome those physical boundaries in so many ways. And I think as people interested, I mean, both you and I are historians by training, I think, and I think the ways in which space separates people, we live at this really interesting time. I think that maybe those boundaries are coming down. And I think it's exciting for the museum to be involved that way.
Absolutely, and obviously this is a difficult and trying time for a lot of people, but it's moments like these where you do see some of these not so obvious opportunities in the world. People obviously are reconnecting with things like their favorite books right now, for instance. But also this is a great opportunity for people to stay involved with their favorite cultural institutions by focusing on the online presence that they have and taking a peek into what digital resources are available. And I think this is a great way for us all to stay connected, even though we're not able to, again, to occupy that same space, but we can still communicate, and we can still keep up this great work that we do preserving our culture and our heritage in a digital format. It does seem a little strange, I think, to a lot of people, because most people, I think, are definitely used to that in-person interaction, especially when it comes to something like a museum. But we still have these opportunities now to continue on, and people can stay involved and really allow us to continue the work that we do, and continue to preserve these cultures and these histories.
And I think that is a beautiful way to end it. I don't know if I could say something better. You'll come back on, and we can spend more time together in this virtual space and share our conversations with others. I assume you have to come back on,
Great.
Jeremy. We work together. I know where you work. So along with what Jeremy was saying, we're at the National Hellenic Museum, we're really committed to continuing to provide you with opportunities to engage with Hellenic culture and heritage, not only now but going into the future. Along those lines, we are planning online activities for kids around mythology. And after Greek Easter is over, I am going to put on my sommelier hat. In addition to being a trained historian, I am a sommelier. And we're going to look at Greek wines after the Paschal celebration as well. And of course, the National Hellenic Museum's collection is available online to you at collections.nationalhellenicmuseum.org, where you can visit them. And of course, you can always visit the museum's website at nationalhellenicmuseum.org. There you can become a member or donate. We know these are very, very difficult times, but any support you can offer is very much appreciated. So thank you for bearing with us through these technological difficulties, and I will see you next time. Have a lovely, lovely day and stay safe out there.